What is up, malcontents? JJ back here with Holden, talking some betting angles for week 3 in the NFL. We'll go through each game, breaking down a little brief previews for each, giving some leans, and of course, as always, our best bets. Holden, I did see your first official play in the RPB sheets. You just love to see it.
Thank you very much. There's a lot of pressure on it. If it goes down, it's the last post I ever make. No, I like it. We'll get to it during the Chargers game. I got a whole bunch of props I actually liked this week. Last week there was like 3 or 4 that I liked. I think I went 500 on my props. This week I like a lot, and I know you got a couple too. So
it's a sexy week for points, that's for sure. Overall,
it is. So that means no points will be scored, and the unders. I think through the first 2 weeks I saw scoring was up 2.4 points per game. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's that the defenses are catching up or just happens that the offenses are playing great right now and great matchups. I don't know what that reason is, JJ, but the scoring's up. I mean,
yeah, I think it's and I think specifically as well, scoring's up in the second halves. I think it could be fatigue. But overall it's been fun to watch these first few wews.
So does that stop this week since everybody will be back in shape now?
Well, I'll tell you what, at minimum, odds makers are like, we're going to start adjusting. That's for sure. So, obviously you're seeing a lot more 47s, 48s, even 49s. Even last night, the mini total went to 50.5. And then, of course, you got a bunch of 56s with the 2 biggest games of the week. So, yeah, I mean, huge numbers everywhere. So odds makers are definitely at this point saying, you want to bet overs, we're going to jack these numbers up for you.
All right, let's get into this here then, right away. Las Vegas, New England, Cam Newton, and then a Raiders team coming off a really nice nationally televised victory there. Total sitting at 47, some places 47.5. 6.5 point favorites are the Patriots at home. JJ, Cam Newton is looking absolutely magnificent so far. I wonder what your take is on this New England offense. And then, can we really buy the Raiders on the road today? Are they that good?
Yeah, so ultimately the one thing Belichick's done throughout his whole, coaching defensive career per se, he's very good at taking away your best player, right? I mean, ultimately Waller's probably going to see a lot of different looks today from that defense. He may even see a lot of Gilmore. But either way, I think that it's a tough spot for the Raiders, okay? They win the game. They get all the praise last week for winning that game against the Saints. They look really good, dominate time of possession, specifically in the second half. But, I mean, very quietly, the Saints averaged 7.4 yards per play. That was good for third best in the NFL last week. And I think that kind of goes unsaid in that game. I think if you watch the game, you're like, wow, the Saints just look like a different team without Michael Thomas. I mean, offense was just humming without him. The Raiders just did a tremendous job dominating the ground. And it's like I often like to say, sometimes your best defense is good offense. The Raiders just consistently held the ball on offense, keeping their defense off the field. But when their defense was on the field, they were getting shredded. Here, they get a much tougher matchup, or tough matchup anyway, from the quarterback position with the dual threat ability of Cam, and they've been running him a lot more. I found it interesting that Cam basically threw his coaching staff under after the last week in the press conference where he was like, maybe we went to the well one too many times with that last play call. But, I guess it's I hear that from a quarterback, and part of me is like, it's probably just, Cam being him. But at the same time, it's like, I was surprised too, right? Weren't you surprised? I mean, don't get me wrong. I get it. They couldn't stop that play, but how do you not give him a backdoor option? How do you not give him a tight end sliding out or a running back scope out of the backfield, something in the corner of the end zone? Man, it just seemed like, you call a timeout and then what do you talk about for 2 minutes? We're just going to run the exact same play we've ran the last 6 times. But either way, Patriots offenses looked really good with Cam, as you mentioned. I said this. I thought that Cam was going to see some developments in his game with McDaniels. And he's seen it early. He's doing a lot of running, though. I don't know how long that can sustain. But I'm very weary about this Raiders defense. So if the Patriots can slow down the Raiders at all, I'd like New England to cover here. But if the Raiders continue to show consistency offensively, this will be a good one. I mean, points should be scored here. Definitely lean on the over for me. Still seeing it 47. Even somewhere it's dipping back to 46.5. But to me, that the total goes over if Vegas scores, because the Patriots are going to be putting points on the board today. That's for sure.
All right, very good. I don't like anything from this game except for the total. I'm with you. Rams, Buffalo. So here's an interesting point. We got Buffalo getting back their 2 tackles, their 2 defensive tackles today. So that'll be big against the Rams running game if they want to run up the middle. Houston, that's the next game. Rams, Buffalo, 47 is the total. This is interesting here. You're getting I saw 1-point favorite at BetMGM. If you bet around, you're seeing a lot of 2s elsewhere at DraftKings and FanDuel. So the line is just that's a point here and there at different books is a little odd, JJ. If you're betting either side here, a point's a ton.
Yeah, so this is going to be a fun teaser game. Okay, you could take the Raiders up to 7. Rams up to 7.5. I am seeing, as you mentioned, some 1, but I also see some 1.5, some 2s. Probably 1.5 is going to be more or less your consensus. You go, a 6-point tease. Again, I always say 1.5 is a pretty big key number for 6-point teasers. Take that right up to 7.5. But so the question you have to answer with betting this game is how good specifically is each team, right? So the Rams win a coin flip game against Dallas, a game that really could have went either way late. Some head-scratching decisions by McCarthy there. And the Rams beat a Philly team who clearly is just not themselves. We've seen this from them a bit in the past where they go through these little stretches where they just don't even look like an NFL team. So, how can you really be that impressed with the Rams? You can't downgrade them, right? But how much can you really upgrade them? The Bills look tremendous, but they've played the Dolphins and the Jets. So how really good are they? Josh Allen's throwing for 700 yards and 6 touchdowns in 2 games. So he's kind of starting to answer questions about his ability to throw the football. And Diggs is definitely helping him out there. And this defense, we've said this every show, like this defense is Super Bowl caliber, right? I think this team, if you get an above average Allen all year, this team's probably going to the Super Bowl, but that's the big question. Yep. Is Josh Allen. To me, if these 2 teams play week 1, the Bills are probably -3, right? Come today, maybe even 3.5. The Bills have shown nothing to say they should be downgraded to 1. So it just seems like a bit of a market overreaction. I know that the narrative coming around has been Goff is better now with nobody in the stands on the road. He can better hear McVay, and McVay's kind of telling him what to do every play without any issues. But it's going to be a good defense he sees here today. So I'm interested to see how this goes because Goff's ability to read defenses really is below average. But definite strong lean for me, and this continues to go down. Even gets to maybe -0.5 for a pick'em. Strong lean Buffalo.
Wow. See, here's the little concern I have about Josh Allen because the week 1 he fumbled 2 times. Mm-hmm. I think people forget he also threw 2 interceptions that were dropped, like easy interceptions. He's got a very tough secondary to go up against today. I just love the Rams this year. The Rams to me were a massive bounce back candidate. So you're all over the Bills, right? I'm afraid.
It's a strong
advocate. Yeah.
Strong lean for me. Not gonna be my best bet in this video, but strong lean. And I'll tell you what, if it somehow gets to pick, it's gonna be a bet for me for sure.
That I wouldn't blame you. I just the Rams scare me a little bit, man. I think their offense is back. If they can run the ball, it's going to be tough with that front 4, especially with them getting healthy with Buffalo. Millennium Goddess. First of all, do you know Millennium Goddess? Do you know who this is?
Yeah, for a friend of these videos.
Oh, hi, Millennium. How are you? I don't work high. No, I will be sober all day today, all the way into the Sunday night game. And then I'll pop on with the boys in the live show, and then you can come see me just completely blasted. But no, I got to stay sober for all this. Huh?
That's what we come here for, Holden.
No. Man, I got shows up, and you think I can work messed up with JSU? I got to be on my game for that guy. You and me can screw around. That guy is just like, you either know it or you don't.
Strictly business.
Strictly. This is all business. Okay, Houston at Pittsburgh. I know you got a prop here that you like. Pittsburgh, 4-point favorites. I think the line moved down a little bit. Wasn't it like at 5.5? Total here is 46. I'll just say this, JJ. I think Pittsburgh has the best defense in the NFL, and I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, so definitely makes a lot of sense. As far as I don't know about close, I think Buffalo could give you could give them a little run for their money. Also, the Chargers defense, as far as talent goes, could give them a run for their money. But Pittsburgh defensively is as sound as they come in the NFL. Obviously, the number 1 defense coming into this season. That defense alone carried their team to 7 wins last year, something like that, 7 or 8 wins, because the quarterback play wasn't there for him last year. Mm-hmm. And Fitzpatrick's just incredible. But I think so. This game here, Houston's first 2 games of the season, and this is even the third one. We want to talk about an abysmal schedule. Kansas City, Baltimore for Houston. Now it's at Pittsburgh. I do think so. And the prop you were hinting at earlier. So for me, and I've said this often, like people love Deshaun Watson's rushing ability in every game. People like to target his rushing props. I typically like to stay away. I love his rushing props in the postseason. He's a guy that runs more when the games matter. Well, the games matter more. He runs more. Obviously, he'll run more against good pass rushes too. Don't both those check boxes get checked? I mean, for this game, Houston does not want to start 0-3, right? Houston, the Pittsburgh D-line will be pushing Watson out of the pocket today. He's had no less than 5 carries in both these games. I just think this is a spot where you get like prime rushing Watson today. I'm not going to say he's going to run for 40, 50 yards, but I think you're going to get Watson that gets his 7-8 carries today. And gives us the best opportunity to go over. Friday night, I saw his prop 24.5. I gave it out in our Discord. I don't know specifically what it's at now. I know you mentioned it could be 27, 28.
That's about 27.5.
Yeah. So I don't love 27.5, but that's still a pretty good bet for me. Like I said, I just think he runs a lot today. I think that you get a prime form him. As far as this game goes overall, so it's really going to matter how good Pittsburgh how many points you think Pittsburgh can score in this spot, because it's hard to say how bad Houston's defense is, right? Because Kansas City, Baltimore, I mean, they usually get whipped around by those two teams anyway. And then in this spot, I think Houston contends with them late. I think you could get a backdoor cover from either team here. Not a spread necessarily. I love the total seems a bit high, at 46.5-ish, right? That's what it is. But other than that, no true spot in this game I love. I would lean Houston just because I think you get better form from them as a team here in a must-win spot. But overall, it's a stay-off spot for me. Love the Watson prop over.
All right. I'm staying away too. I just, again, West Coast, I get what you're saying with Derwin James, Chargers bet. I just haven't seen a defense like this. This defense, it doesn't remind me of the Patriots last season, the beginning, because I don't think they score. They don't have the scoring defense that they had, but everything, pressure, linebackers, second, they're just so loaded, so stacked. I love that Steelers defense, and I'm just
didn't Jeff Driscoll kind of shred them a bit last week? Was that right?
Jeff Driscoll. Oh, Jeff Driscoll come on, give me a break with Jeff. Don't start messing with Jeff Driscoll.
I'm just saying, dude comes in off like laundry duty and plays in the middle of the game and throws for 256. I mean, dude was working it last week.
Hey, you got to prepare for Jeff Driscoll.
You're not preparing for him. I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah, you can't come into a game thinking you're going to face one guy and then face Jeff Driscoll and then say, oh, this is only 256. It's Jeff Driscoll, man. Give me a break. Guy's amazing. Still the best defense in my eyes. Okay. The numbers might prove differently, but big deal. We don't care about numbers here. Besides for the spreads. San Francisco, 3.5-point favorites. I mean, you can get this at even money at some places. The Giants, so they're dogs at home. 42.5, 43. Here's what I don't like. And my bet from this game, JJ, I was pretty active this week. This is an interesting schedule. I took the Niners under 23.5. Now, I got burned last week by going under 24. But look at this, man. This this Niners offense is a disaster. I mean, I think Kyle Shanahan could get any running back going. I keep saying this, like Alfred Morris, 8 years ago, he got that guy looked like the best running back in the world. So Jeff Wilson and McKinnon aren't bad, but how are they going to throw the football? Who are they throwing the football to? They're just a one-dimensional team. I have a hard time thinking their offense is going to get going today, JJ.
Yeah, so Nick Mullins has shown to be a potent quarterback when he gets opportunities, especially running this offense. He did it 2 years ago, where I think he averaged, I could be wrong, I think he averaged like 285 passing yards a game for this offense. So the big question is how much of a drop-off is Mullins from Garoppolo? Me personally, I think it's about 2.5, 3 points, 2.75 to be exact. Some people will tell you probably 5, 4.5, 6. It really depends on how much you grade Garoppolo. I'm a little below average on Garoppolo versus the market. And Mullins is shown to be potent here, or potent when he plays for this squad. But look, this team's also missing more weapons, right? I think they're missing their entire defensive line. Bosa is a guy I rank as about a full point. The rest of that D-line being out, add another point. So Barkley can neutralize or can even that out somewhat because also I have him at a point. There's just injuries all over the place. And San Fran complained about – it's so ironic, right? Because San Fran complained about the Jets field last week and how they didn't feel the field. They called it sticky, okay? Well, they have to play on that sticky field again this week as they go to play the Giants. So, are you going to get like a fearful San Francisco? Or are you going to be having players that are fearful of injuries? And look, to their point, I know that the NFL cleared that stadium as everything is fine. The Jets had a lot of injuries last week too. So kind of a scary game, right? If you're going to start talking about players really overcommitting on offense or defense, I just think this is a game where you have so many injuries. Like how can you properly there's so many games to bet today. How can you properly handicap this game in particular? Like even if you perfectly weighed every player at their exact point value, to me, there's so much turnaround here. What's the Giants offense going to look like with no Barkley? Are they going to be passing more? Are they going to rely on Danny Dimes' legs more? How good can Mullins be? The running back carousel for the Niners, the defensive line for the Niners, that entire squad's out, so it's all second stringers. Just so many injuries in this game. Not a spot I love in any regard here. I could see why you'd like the team total under, the same reasons for last week. But look, your boy Mostert, you said anytime touchdown, he scored on the first play of the game.
I know.
And that's the big thing, right? We were talking last week, like we think the only way this game goes over is there's a bunch of big plays, huge running plays for the Niners in that game, which could happen again. I know that they're going to sit Kittle too, right? Kittle's out again.
Kittle's out.
Just so many injuries. Yeah, I don't want any part of this game.
Yeah, here's why I like the Giants here. There are injuries all over the place. And if you go look at the play-by-play, like the game log, it seemed like every other play Mullins was either getting sacked under pressure or something. And the Giants have a 9% sack rate, and that's top 5 or 6 in the league. So they can get some pressure on him. Mostert, to me, it's not even close. He is just by far and away the most explosive running back in the NFL, and they just don't have that now. I mean, they can dump to McKinnon. I am so against the Niners this week. I think it's going to be disgusting. You're staying out in New York again. It's just they're a mess. They're a mess. So I have a little more conviction on the Niners offense just not doing well. But listen, Vegas thinks the same thing on both sides. It's a 42.5, 43 total. Is that the lowest of the week? Yeah, it's right there with Tampa Bay, Denver. So it's ugly, man. It's ugly. Then we have Tennessee, Minnesota. I'm going to stroke my beard here. This is 49.5 is the total, and this moved from. I mean, I saw it at 3. Now it's like 2.5. What do you think, JJ? This to me, Minnesota's defense is completely shredded. They just have nothing. They're going to get crushed this week again. Their offenses look completely discombobulated. I don't know if they can bounce back. What do you got here?
Yeah. So with this game, so out of principle. I cannot bet the Titans in this spot. I think the Titans make a lot of sense because of how poorly Minnesota's looked defensively and how, questionable they've looked offensively. But, it's like I often say, like, can you really swing an NFL team's market 6 entire points in 2 weeks? The Minnesota Vikings, if they played this game 2 weeks ago, would be 3, maybe 3.5 point favorites in this game. Now they're getting 3, and they're about plus 135 or plus 140 on the money line. Look, it's a 2-game sample, right? I mean, how can you really look that much into it? I mean, this is what people do early on in football, and they don't do it as much in the middle of the year. They only do it in the beginning of the year, which is so odd. If a team goes through a streak of 6-7 games where they look really good in the beginning of the season, people love them, whatever, they're talking them, they're stroking them. And then like week 8 and 9, if they have 2 bad weeks, more or less people will choke those 2 games up as an anomaly. Okay, well, they were looking so good. They go on, maybe they get a dry week, and then they get caught with their pants down another week. So whatever, they'll bounce back this week. When this happens in the beginning of a football season, everybody just says, this team sucks. I'm off them. It's over. I can't bet this team anymore. So for me, that's why I always say, like, from week 2 to week 1, is all about overreactions, week 1 overreactions. From week 3 to week 2 is all about recency bias. You now have 2 entire games on your belt. You now have that much more of a bad taste in your mouth. Also, remember, Minnesota was a very popular play last week for sports bettors against the Colts. So now you have people that lost money on Minnesota. And then I think Tennessee ended up winning late against Jacksonville. But either way, I can't do it. I can't bet Minnesota because they've been so bad, and I can't lay points with Tennessee. Either way, a lot of yardage should pile up in this one. 2 bad defenses. Should be a fun game to watch. Could be a good Henry bounce back spot. I know a lot of people loved him last week. Maybe not as many this week. So, but for me, lean the over as a play 49. I know it's kind of moved off the market up as well. But I just think there's going to be a ton of yards in this game. Hopefully, results to points.
Is this a premium show?
No, completely free.
All right. I'm not giving you Tawadi's pick then. That's it. We're keeping Twatty's pick secret. Go get a subscription at Run Pure Bets if you don't have one. I know, listen, JJ's been giving away free picks forever, and he still does. But I'm just saying, there's a couple on that sheet I absolutely love today. Like love. And I think Twatty's is one of them. What?
Best Buy. We can get you a snapback. Just win one of those contests I do on Thursday. Pick your 4-0 winners, and instead of getting a shirt, I'll get you a hat.
Oh, that's kind of nice of you. Look at you, big spender. Must be having a nice NFL season so far. So we got Washington, Cleveland.
I won the pick 3 yesterday, Holden.
Huh?
I won the pick 3 yesterday. I'm not trying to brag, but that was a quick $400.
That's nice. Good job.
I was kidding. The lottery's for degenerates. I don't do the lottery.
Let me tell you something. You can call me a bad father or not. All right. My 2-year-old son, his favorite movie is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
New or old?
Huh?
New or old?
I only show him the old one. My daughter likes the new one more, so we'll watch both. But they have this scratch-off lottery ticket called the Golden Ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought him 2 of those. I was like, here, just start scratch. So I got my kid gambling already at awesome. 2 years old. He's doing scratch-off tickets, man. Won $5. It was amazing, but unfortunately, the ticket costs a lot more than that. So
I mean, it could be worse, Holden. I mean, I remember walking around the racetracks with shit in my diapers with my dad. So
really, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still doing some stuff in the betting industry as far as reviews and talking to guys. The head at Points Bet. By the way, can you guys just launch in Colorado already? I love that site. But the guy that runs the American operations was telling me he went to the track with his dad. He was 6 years old, and he said he picked like a 40-1 horse, and he's like, "Dad, here's $20, whatever it was." And then the horse ends up winning, and the dad came back, and he's like, "I'm sorry, that was a horrible bet. I couldn't put it down. You won, but I didn't do it." He's like, "That's my first gambling experience. What a dick."
That's great.
He says it in Australian accent, so it's really not that mean. Washington at Cleveland. The spread here is, wow, we got a touchdown now for the Browns. How do you trust the Browns? But Washington's garbage. Football team is garbage. 45 is the total. I've seen it between 44.5. I think it opened at like 45.5, and now it's down to 44.5 at some places. Any leans here in this game? Anything?
Yeah. So at 7.5, and I'm just trying to see if that's a consensus. Not a consensus, but it is available. 7.5 would be a strong lean, Washington. So here's my thing. I always say this. I bet on the Browns with Mayfield when he plays teams that don't have a pass rush. Okay, when he plays defensive lines that get to the quarterback, he makes a lot of bad decisions. I mean, he makes bad decisions. So he makes bad decisions when teams don't have a good pass rush. But when he gets a lot of pressure on him, he makes a lot of bad decisions. So like it's not like you can't watch a Browns game and then like he throws 3 interceptions and you're like, oh, the only reason I lost was because Baker threw 3 interceptions. Like no, he played a good defensive line, and consistently in his career he's shown that when you force him out of the pocket, he makes bad decisions with the football. Here he's going to be forced out of the pocket. Okay, he's one of the best D lines in football. Now the problem is can Washington actually show anything on offense? This is the worst offense in football. They won a football game where they had the lowest yardage of any team in a week 1, and they still won the football game. Last week, they looked absolutely abysmal on offense against a more or less a poor defense in Arizona. It's not a very bad defense, but it's certainly not a good one. They couldn't move the ball at all. So for me, I lean Washington strongly because I think Baker makes a few mistakes today, and it's very tough to cover over a touchdown if your quarterback makes a few mistakes. But look, Washington's got to show something on offense. Otherwise, you're gonna be sweating this one either side.
All right, so here's my question for you then, because I think the only legitimate threat week in, week out for the Washington football team is going to be Terry McLaurin. And I have not put this bet in yet, but McLaurin the first 2 games, 5 catches, 7 catches, was against Philly and Arizona. I actually think Arizona's defense, people are sleeping on them. But his receptions totals at 4.5, JJ. Like, this is one I've just been focused on. The question is, like, Haskins going to look his way 10 times? Does he catch half those passes? I don't know. It's a heavy lean toward that, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet.
If Denzel Ward's out, I think that's a snap bet. So Denzel Ward starting corner for Cleveland. Yeah. If he's out, that's probably a snap bet over. If he plays, I still think it's a good bet. 5's a big number though, right? Especially for a quarterback who's been seemingly tremendously inaccurate. But I do like it. And if Ward's out, that makes a lot of sense.
Let's see here. They are actually working Ward out right now. So we're going to find out here within the next 30 minutes if he's playing. And hopefully I'll get the news before Vegas can end up adjusting to that.
Yeah.
I'll say. So he was all over AJ Green last week. Then he got hurt. So it's a great point. Watch out for Denzel Ward there. And if that's it, I'm probably going to fade McLaurin. Cincinnati. Well, you know what? Maybe I won't. I don't know. Cincinnati, Philadelphia. You and I. Was this just the chalk? Looking at the total, saying, "Oh my God, over 46 and a half. How do you not go there?" And then Philadelphia, 5.5 point favorites at home. I'm seeing 4.5. This thing's been bet down to 4.5. So real quick, let me just throw my devil's advocate here on the Cincinnati side. If you're betting them with 5.5 points, is that Philadelphia? You said through the first 2 weeks, snap judgment, this team has looked horrible. But they're still a more talented team than Cincinnati. If you think that the Texans are coming out looking to avoid 0-3, Philadelphia's got to do the same thing. And man, is that media there in Philadelphia, they will rip them to shreds. So, the farther we get in the week, I'm wondering if I have some buyer's remorse, although I'm getting 5.5 points with the Bengals.
Yeah, so we talked about this in Discord. So these lines get released on Sunday. We talked about this on Monday in the Discord that if you're going to bet the Bengals, bet them today. It was 6.5 then because this line's going to move. Philly just looked awful on Sunday. If you want to bet Philly, if you want to bet them, that was the time to bet them. Obviously now it's 4. You could argue there's still value on Cincinnati. But the problem I have is, you're right, Philly does this, right? They just look awful for a string of weeks, and then they just kind of right the ship against the team they're supposed to, and then all of a sudden they reel off 3-4 wins in a row. What's interesting to me is, and you know this, Holden, I'm a Wentz guy. He has not looked good. Like last week, there was no reason for him to look as bad as he did. The offensive line held up for him. He just made a lot of bad decisions, bad throws. Now, I get it. He's missing some guys on offense. He's much better with Jeffries, but ultimately it is what it is. Now today's got no Rager. What does that truly mean? I don't know. He played good with Greg Ward last year, so it's not like that's terrible. He's got Jackson healthy. They use a lot of 2 tight end sets, so I don't know if that's really going to impact him that much. But the thing with Cincinnati is they're not going to get any pressure on him. So he's going to have all day to sit back there, find some open guys, and Sanders should have huge running lanes. And look, the Bengals offense, they've been good. Ultimately, the Bengals offense has shown a lot of potency with Joe Burrow. I said I'm usually not as high on quarterbacks early on, but very high on Burrow coming into the season. This is a good defense for him. Ultimately, even if that defensive line pushes him out of the pocket, he's shown some NFL mobility with his legs, pushing the ball downfield. This secondary is very bad for Philly. You would figure a lot of yards should pile up in this game. And I always like to say yards instead of points because you can predict yards more or less with efficiency. Points, though, is always a tough one because points more or less comes down to third down conversions inside the red zone and field goals being made from where they're supposed to be made from. But more or less, yards should not be a premium. The yards should be piling up on both sides in this game. Should be a fun game to watch. But overall, at the current numbers, not in love with anything, but I'm happy folks in our Discord got on Cincinnati early at that 6.5 number because now I'm seeing a bunch of 4.5s.
Yeah, they got on the 6.5. I was at 5.5. So 6.5 is a little while ago, wasn't it?
That was, we were talking about this on Monday. Yeah.
And I think I got in on Tuesday. All right, so we got Chicago, Atlanta now. Atlanta 2.5 point favorites at home. Totals between 47.5. So this is the horrible defense versus the horrible quarterback, and which side is going to win? Is the Atlanta defense worse than Mitchell Trubisky, or is Mitchell Trubisky worse than the Atlanta defense? What do you think, JJ?
So the interesting thing here, of course, is the Julio Jones news. Apparently looking bleak to play today. If he doesn't, for me, he used to be worth a full point for me. I don't know if he's worth that anymore. It's not because he's solely not worth that. I just think this team has talent all over offensively. So I don't look at that as a huge drop-off if he doesn't play. Even if he plays, maybe he's just used as a decoy. But either way, that's I guess the injury news for this game. I think this is a spot where Allen Robinson gets right. It's a good spot for him. They're targeting him a ton. Look, if you're any level of a Mitch Trubisky truther, okay, this has got to be a game he plays well. Okay, this defense has been poor. Teams have just been lighting this team up defensively or offensively. So if you get a bad Mitch Trubisky game here, like, you really need to pack it in for him as far as your own thoughts in a positive manner for him. But look, it does make a lot of sense, right? That Chicago offense should see some success between Montgomery, him, again, Allen Robinson. And look, Atlanta sometimes just seemingly can't get out of their own way. But, borderline get right spot for them. We'll see. An ugly game for me to try to pick sides or handicap. So I'm going to be off on all angles here. But, I think ultimately you're going to bet the Bears. You got to hope you get a good version of Trubisky. If you're going to fade the Bears, you're more or less assuming you're going to get a bad version of Trubisky. I think this game is won and lost today on Trubisky's arm, not necessarily on Matt Ryan's.
I like Allen Robinson too. Here's my only concern that I'd say, James Bradbury, I think he's second in forced incompletion rate. Think about that. And if he just shadows Robinson today, Robinson is a stud. He is as talented as almost any other wide. He's probably a top 7 talent guy. He just gets stuck with bad quarterbacks. So I don't know. What am I talking about the Giants for, by the way? I don't even know why. So we'll get back to the Giants in just a couple of minutes. And I am sober. I'm looking at another stat. I'm looking for Denzel Ward, and then Bradbury popped up. Anyways, as far as that goes, Atlanta, man.
It's an ugly game. We can
fade it. Jets at the Colts. Wow, Indianapolis went from 7-point favorites to 11.5. The total is 44. We're all on Grandma's boy T.Y. Hilton this week in DFS. Are we on anything else in this game? Look,
when your grandma calls you out, you have to perform, right? It's kind of like mandatory. So ultimately, can't bet the Colts here, right? And how could you lay? I'm even seeing 12 at some spots. Like, how can you lay 12 with a team that was 7 5 days ago? But with that said, how can you bet the Jets? Because the Jets, literally. So like when you talk about this offense is missing starting running back. This offense is missing 3 starting receivers. Chris Herndon hasn't even looked like himself at all. Not that he's ever been a stud anyway, but he looks even below what he's looked like. The offensive line is one of, if not the worst in the NFL. Sam Darnold continues to make below average decisions with the football. And then defensively, this team has shown a whole other side in a negative manner without Jamal Adams. This was kind of obvious that this was going to be the case. But so how does this not game script as a game where the Colts just dominate time of possession, run the football, just kind of squeeze out a win? Like, if they let Phillip Rivers make bad decisions with the football today, ultimately you got to blame the coaching, because ultimately if Rivers throws a few picks today and costs anybody a cover, and that's the reason why they cost a cover. It's just because the Jets can't force turnovers. So there's just so many things that lean the Colts here, but that's a big number off the opener, and just out of discipline, can't bet them. But survivor leagues, how do you not pick the Colts this week with everything else that's going on in the league as far as other teams to pick? Ugly game. I'll stay away. I don't even like the under here because it's low. But overall, it's a completely stay away spot for me. If you bet the Colts, good luck. But again, remember, the number you got is very far off the opener.
Carolina at the Chargers. The Chargers, 6.5 point favorites. That scares me just because they decide they want to play close games every single friggin' week. And it's a rookie quarterback, but Carolina has the worst defense in the NFL. So 43.5 is the total here, JJ. I told you earlier in this week, and I think the line really moved up after I got in. I love Eckler this week. I love him. 25.5 receiving yards. That's my first bet I ever put on the sheet. So hopefully it works out. And that's just a conviction play for me, man. I love Austin Eckler. I think that the both of them can just run all over him. But Herbert decided that he liked to check down like Tyrod Taylor didn't. All over the Austin Eckler receiving prop today.
Yeah, and I like that call. I think that Carolina, so despite, you're not hearing much about it. I know McCaffrey's out. You're hearing about that. But, McCaffrey's got 4 touchdowns already this year. You're not really hearing anything about that.
Yeah.
You missed that piece of your offense now. So, and look, good old Teddy checkdowns. He's not going to have an integral piece for him. So look, but then again, the Chargers are another team. I continue to say this: the head coach for the Chargers, arguably the worst in the NFL. So you're now relying on a team with a rookie quarterback and a bad head coach to cover 7. Yeah, I don't love the spot, but Carolina's missing their best player. They were already one of the worst teams in football. Just a real ugly game. Not a spot I love on any front. But I do think Eckler finally gets right today. So I love that play call.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to find some news here. Panthers plan big things for Mike Davis. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, what does that mean?
Good luck with Mike Davis against those guys. Okay, I'm not afraid, and I don't think the Chargers are either. So our next game here, Detroit at Arizona. Oh, we got some juiciness here, and I know you want to talk about the Kyler rushing prop, and that was probably my second favorite bet of the week. Detroit, 5.5-point dogs on the road. 55.5 is the total. I think the big injury here is Kenny Golladay, who is going to play, but he is not feeling very good. So he's got a hamstring. Any leans here in this game besides for the Kyler Murray rushing prop?
Yeah. I'll mention that as well. Strong lean Detroit. So I know that Arizona is such a sexy play here, right? On so many fronts. Kyler Murray's looked tremendous. Detroit has their own huge head scratching. But like, here's the thing: these two teams play, and I continue to say this because it needs to be said. Like, I know that the argument is, well, you'll make adjustments, right? If a team plays week 1, they play week 3, you got to adjust your rankings based on how good or bad these teams are. But how can you like severely adjust your rankings, right? These two teams play week 1. This line's probably 3.5, maybe. Okay, it opens 6.5 or opens 5.5, bumps to 6.5, now back down to basically 5.5. Yeah, so Arizona plays Washington, a team that can't get out of their own way offensively. And they looked really good week 1. I forgot who they played week 1. But they looked really good week 1 as well. Detroit plays Green Bay, whose offense looks tremendous week 1. And then last week they played who did Detroit play last week? Can't remember off the top of my head.
You know what? Week 2 is so far from here. I'm all on to week 3, so don't worry about it. Keep going.
I will say, so I lean Detroit because I think this team's been showing some potency offensively, and I just worry. So ultimately, Kirk's out for Arizona, so now Detroit can really hone in on Hopkins. Not that Hopkins is not going to eat. I'm sure he will. But look, Murray. So here's the thing with the rushing prop. I personally am off the rushing prop on both sides today. I know that it started at and we discussed this at times as well, Holden. So Murray's rushing prop started the year at 24.5. Okay, game 1. Game 2, I think he elevates to 29.5, easily goes over both. Game 3, now they've adjusted it to like 35.5. Okay. It's probably even higher right now. Here's my issue is that's like, if you're an odds maker, I don't understand why they just didn't hang like a 45.5 here, because ultimately, how could anybody look at that number and bet it under, right? Like, how could you be like, after watching both games, I'm going to bet this under. But the reason why you potentially would bet it under is this total has been adjusted 11 or 12 points from the open. Okay. I mean, from week 1. Mm-hmm. So if you argue Murray for his career average is like 20, 25 yards per game rushing or 30 yards per game rushing, now it's 30. Now you're getting 36.5. This isn't a great pass rush, so it's not like they're going to be forcing him out of the pocket. And it's a soft secondary too, so Murray should have big windows to throw in. So you're ultimately going to hope that he gets like designed runs. I just think that it's a big number, and I think that a lot of people will look at week 1 and 2 and be like, okay, yeah, now I want to bet Murray's prop over again, go back to the well. But look, I don't like playing over adjustments like that. That total's been over adjusted 11, 12 yards, for what his typical numbers are. And maybe he's going to run more this year. Maybe you'll be right again. And if you're going to the well, I would say this, if you've been going to the well week 1 and 2, sure, go back to it week 3. If you haven't gone to the well weeks 1 or week 2, don't jump in now when you're getting a bad number in a spot where he's not going to be forced out of the pocket. So look, that's my take there, but ultimately I lean Detroit. I think it's a big number. People always forget, like, Arizona's a sexy play when Arizona's an underdog, okay, because they have the potent offense, okay, but Arizona as a sexy play to lay a touchdown. And again, I know they beat the Redskins last week, but the Redskins have no offense. Detroit has an offense, so not a spot I love. And Arizona, thanks, West Coast. So Arizona beat San Francisco week 1, who, by the way, Arizona matches up so well against San Francisco, like even last year, both games, so well, covered both times. Here, I like Detroit a lot. It's a very strong lean for me. I wish I can get 6.5 now. Or at least I could give out 6.5 now. But either way, love Detroit plus the 5.5.
ASAP Ski says Detroit against mobile quarterbacks haven't allowed more than 20 yards. They haven't faced Kyler Murray yet. I just
That's
think
true.
that's
true.
I think 25 on his rushing prop going over there, and then the other thing was the 5.5. Like you would still not even lay the 5.5. This is again something where I'm like, should I have done that?
Yeah, I think, like I said, betting Arizona, I think based on the eye test makes sense. Okay, Detroit can't get out of their own way. Specifically in a second, maybe the best bet would actually be Detroit first half because this team's looked very good in the first halves of games. So I think you could probably get Detroit plus 3.5 first half. Maybe that's a better, the algebra. That's the better route to go because again, if you argue Detroit's going to collapse in the second half again and Arizona's going to cover, the better bet would probably be Detroit first half plus 3.5 because they've shown real potency on offense. I mean, remember they go up 14-3 against Green Bay last week, and the week before I think they were leading at halftime. Against I forgot who they were playing the week before that. But either way, first half, Detroit plus 3.5.
They have Green Bay, and then what was it? Jeez, man. Everything's just going so fast. We're going to be in week 10 before you know it. That sucks. Tampa Bay at Denver. Tampa Bay 6-point favorites on the road with a total of 42.5 minus 10. I mean, there you go, Jeff Driscoll. Your boy, Jeff Driscoll, against the Tampa Bay defense. Really, is Tampa Bay that good on the road? That we're feeling that good against the Broncos despite the injuries?
No, but you can't despite the injuries, right? So bet for me, and this will be my best bet of the video, Tampa Bay, Denver under. So I gave 43.5 under earlier in the week, same time, Tuesday, I believe. Tuesday was when I gave out both bets. 43.5. I know it's 42.5. I still like it under. It's going to be, like I said, my favorite bet of the day. Best bet from here. Getting a little wind today in Denver too, right? I mean, you're out there.
Just smoke, man. It smells like I'm in a campfire, like 24 hours a day. It totally sucks. I'm so sick of this.
So I think you're going to get two teams that run the football. I know Driscoll. So I think the only way this goes over, and look, of course, any game can go over the total, right? I think the only way this goes over are turnovers that create quick points. So like a turnover inside your own 20, a punt return, a fumble, when you're a fumble inside your own 30, 20, whatever, and dudes hitting like 60-yard field goals. I think you would need some weird things to happen for this to go over because from a time of possession and yardage standpoint, this game should play very slow, okay? The thin air in Denver. Denver's defense, while it's missing people, it's still decent. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Tampa's defense, and by the way, I haven't seen this derivative, but this will be my favorite derivative of the entire afternoon. Tampa's defense, over 2.5 sacks. So, first of all, Tampa's defense has a great defensive line. Specifically, that's their best part of their defense. And Jeff Driscoll, so last week takes 6 sacks. Got sacked on like 16% of his dropbacks. And Jeff Driscoll, for his career in the NFL, has like a 9% sack rate. Okay, that's astronomical. Okay, as far as dropbacks go. So Tampa's going to get pressure on him. And I think I have to see, I haven't seen the number. Usually they come out with them on Sunday mornings. I still haven't seen it, but I have to assume that'll be Tampa over 2.5 sacks. It'll probably be something like minus 130, minus 135. Absolutely love that bet. If you can find it wherever you can. Because again, Driscoll is just a dude that takes sacks. Like he's a guy that holds on to the football too long. He's shown it in his career. It was no different last week. It'll be no different this week. Tampa's going to get pressure on him. Love that spot. But yeah, under for me in the game.
All right, last one, Dallas, Seattle. This is the juicy one, 4 o'clock window, 4:25. This will be the game of the week. Russ Wilson, Dak Prescott, totals 56.5. And Seattle, this line moved a little bit from, I think it was, 4.5 to 5.5? I want to say, I thought I saw it at 4.5 this week. But it's going to be a high-scoring game is what we're expecting, right? Should be really good. Hopefully it's a scoring fiesta. We like that. But the total for me is just too high at 57 now. I mean, I could see it going over, but I don't feel that good about it.
Yeah, so lean Dallas for me. So as crazy as it sounds, I upgrade Dallas from last week. So if you look at the box score, okay? I mean, let's say you watch the game, look at the whatever. If you just look at the box score, you see the score. Oh my God, how did Dallas give up so many points? So Dallas lost 3 fumbles, okay, early in the game. Zeke, I think, lost 2 in the first quarter. Or either way, they lost 3 fumbles. They might have fumbled more times than that, but they lost 3. So this created very quick scoring opportunities for the Falcons. At one point, I believe in the second quarter, the score was like 21-3. And like the Falcons had like 180 yards of offense and they had 21 points. Like it wasn't a lot of yardage, just a lot of points. So if you argue that when handicapping football, the hardest thing to truly handicap and justify is fumbles, right? Especially whether it's actually fumbling. I mean, there's few times where a guy like has like Butterfingers where you'd be like, all right, well, I expect this dude to fumble once out of every 20 touches, whatever. But overall, you really can't handicap that in a game. It's one of the hardest things to handicap in NFL. They lose 3 fumbles. Then they do 2 fake punts and don't get either of them. Okay. So this team lost the turnover category 5-0 and still won the football game. Okay. So I know that they had some breaks go their way. Okay. But this team proved that they can go down big and come back a large deficit. Okay. Some of his head scratching math decisions didn't pay off. They still won. Okay. Like I said, for me, I know that their defense didn't look great, but like if you look at the numbers, like they didn't really get destroyed by Atlanta's offense. It was just turnovers on the wrong side of the field, created a lot of quick points for the Falcons. And for me overall, like I said, I upgrade Dallas a bit. And from the Rams game, I don't really downgrade the Cowboys. I mean, like it was a game where they could have won. They didn't. I mean, it was really could have went either way late, especially. And if you're somebody who's high on the Rams, how could you downgrade the Cowboys? So either way, I don't downgrade the Cowboys much at all. And the Seahawks, like I upgrade their offense. Their offenses look better with Russ making his own decisions. But this defense gets zero pressure on the quarterback, like absolutely nothing. The Sunday Night Football game, Cam was back there playing basically 7-on-7. I mean, it was more or less pitch and catch for New England's offense against Seattle. Jamal Adams has been an upgrade for them, but he's not a coverage guy, okay? He's never been a coverage guy. He's a great in-space tackler. He's a great pass rusher for his position. But, he always seems to be where the ball is, but he doesn't upgrade them from a coverage standpoint. Dallas, I mean, Dak should be throwing into big windows today. They should be able to run the ball with success today. I just think in a game where I would have this line 3, 2.5, I can get 5, 5.5. I just think you're getting a bit of an overreaction from the 2 weeks you're seeing of Russell Wilson's magic. And I just think these two teams are a lot more even than this number indicates. Happy to take the 5, 5.5 here. And again, I think a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth from what they saw from Dallas last week. But when you really pull back the curtain, there are not many teams in the NFL that will win games when they're 5-0 or 0-5 in turnovers. Okay. They still won. This is a good team. Don't let last week fool you. Happy to take the 5, 5.5 here.
All right, let's get out of here, man. I got to hop over to the DFS side. Me and JSU are going to do some and listen, we got the inactives coming out in 10 minutes. Mary Kay Cabot from the Browns beat says she expects Ward to play, or it looks like Denzel Ward's going to play, so that's kind of big. Anyways, you can follow me on Twitter at Holden Radio. I'm going to head over to the DFS side. Again, all the picks. If you're not with Run Pure Bets, I don't know what you're doing, man. We got some amazing content. Even I threw a prop down there. Come on, guys. And
yeah, we got a ton of picks for today. We have the live show that's going to be private today as well. $20 for the week, like we always say in these videos. Just try it out. If you don't like it, I mean, you don't like it. But I think for the most part, everybody who joins stays. So come aboard. Enjoy the live show today. I'll be on that as well for a few hours with all of them. The show's like 6 hours long too, so pop in whenever you want. Grab some live action. But either way, look, good luck with all your bets today, folks. As always, gamble responsibly. Stay safe. Thanks again for joining us. Holden, thanks again for popping in as well. Follow him at Holden Radio on Twitter. And again, guys, stay disciplined today. Good luck with all your bets again, and stay safe.